Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to take a step away from our top 5 theme and take a look at the most recent chapter released. And boy, let me tell you, there are finally some concrete answers to some questions that we have. Firstly, with VegaPunk's final words of the chapter, he acknowledges Joyboy as the first ever pirate. We can stop speculating as it's now something that has been solidified as concrete. Now, in this chapter, we see a few things that are quite interesting aside from the pan over to the multiple integral areas around the world, which we will get to in just a few moments. But the really important panels of interest are the multiple panels dedicated to the MotherFlame. I'm not sure how this will play out, but with Luffy still being on the island, perhaps to unlock his highest potential power, he will be the one to obtain the MotherFlame and absorb its power, possibly allowing him to finally have a chance at fighting back against the Gorosei. I mean, imagine Luffy somehow unlocks an even more powerful version of his awakened form and brings life to all ancient technology that used to be powered by the ancient kingdom, like the giant robot that's still on Egghead Island, providing yet another powerful ally to the Straw Hats' band of followers, all leading up to that elusive final battle. In addition to obtaining the Mother Flame and being able to possibly have a chance against the Gorosei, maybe with the Mother Flame, Luffy will have more than 4 seconds of being able to enter his awakened form. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but Luffy won't be able to have this weakness of not being able to hold his form longer than a couple minutes for the endgame. It simply cannot happen if we want him to win. Now, of course, that is just speculation. One unique panel we do get to see is a single glimpse of Emu, and he's seemingly shocked to the point of not even uttering words as VegaPunk is broadcasted across the entire world. Now, this brings us to the specific group of characters that Oda has chosen to be displayed as VegaPunk's words are broadcasted. As VegaPunk is known for his renowned wisdom, it's hard to discount his words. With that being said, we do see something odd occur as a singular character in Marijwa stands out. As most members of the Celestial Dragons are in an outrage and literally want to bring Vegapunk back to life just to rip him apart again, there's a single panel of Saint Shalria, who we know from back in Sabaody. And in this panel of Shalria, we can see her contemplating what exactly is the Void Sentry, seeming to indicate that perhaps maybe even the celestial dragons are not told of the transgressions that transpired all the way back to the Void Sentry. Now, what does this possibly mean? Well, there are two things that I can think of. If Oda has used a character of note to indicate that there is even the slightest amount of questioning that can occur in regards of what happened in the Void Sentry among the celestial dragons, is it too difficult to believe that maybe the Holy Knights saw this message and are beginning to question this as well? Could we possibly have Holy Knights that are turned to the side of good during the ending battle due to being shrouded in darkness as to how the world nobles came to power in their comfy lifestyle? And the other thing that I could think of on this matter is that since a world noble seems to be somewhat intrigued by what Vegapunk is saying, perhaps the current living world nobles are not even told about what happened during the Void Century at all, or that it's even a thing, leaving anyone who has any kind of inkling of curiosity in Marijwa to possibly join forces to attempt to find the truth. Of course, the five elders would never allow for this, and this would most likely end up in a large extinction event of any family who so oppose the five elders. But I suppose we'll have to wait for what may transpire. Moving on, another group focused on is the Marines. And there are a couple Marines that seem to be less outraged than the rest. The one I want to focus on the most is Sakazuki. Instead of him being in an uproar like he always seems to be, he is literally silent, as this may be a shock to him. Of course, this may be due to the fact that he has a work cut out for him, as he now has to deal with a chaotic world. But this may be something else. He's shown having the exact same response as Kuzan. Now, let me reach for just a moment. We all know Sakazuki's justice, and that is absolute justice. And with that, he believes that evil must be eliminated at its roots. What if Sakazuki is actually coming to realization that the absolute evil is actually the world government, or in other words, the five elders? It's not impossible to believe, as the world was shrouded from the Void Century for a reason, right? Imagine that Sakazuki, then being Fleet Admiral, then directs every Marine on the planet to lay siege on Marijois. Of course, I am just theorizing, but if something like this did occur, this would be in the meantime as the Straw Hats go to Elbath and Raftel, basically giving them time for the Straw Hats to find the truth and make their way back to Marijois to join the battle. Of course, that is completely just a theory, but that would be an absolute wild twist. Now, I lightly touched upon the fact that VegaPunk drops that Joyboy was the first ever pirate, but he also makes some other mentions. He indicates that Joyboy took on the features of the legendary Sun God Nika from the Fables of Elbath, that he too fought with a stretchy and elastic body. This proves the connection between all three characters, Sun God Nika, Joyboy, and Luffy. In addition to these words, he also states that this is an absolute fact, as he does not want to leave the world in any speculation, so we can finally say for certain that all three of these figures are 100% connected. So we've covered the Marines and Marijois, but what about the other panels? Well, there's a really interesting conversation between Doflamingo and Magellan. Doflamingo says if the sea level was to raise another 5 meters, most urban areas would be most likely underwater in some capacity. Now, that in itself is pretty crazy, but the response from Magellan is what I'm most intrigued by. With the loss of the city of Luisia, the water level raised an entire meter and caused some complications within the prison. So when Doflamingo makes mention of this and indicates that Magellan wouldn't be able to ensure the safety of all inmates if that was to occur, Magellan actually agrees. Now, I would love to speculate just for a moment. Could Magellan possibly act on his own and take out Hannibal to ensure the safety of all the prisoners? We already know Magellan is cruel, but he doesn't like to kill for the sake of killing. I can envision Hannibal actually trying to pull rank on Magellan and indicate the prisoners are to stay in their cells while the sea level rises. But Magellan would never possibly let that happen. So in this case, Magellan would take matters into his own hands, kill Hannibal or at least poison him to incapacitate him in some manner, and ensure the safety of all the criminals. Now, with this decision, he would be considered an enemy of the world government. But I doubt the state of the world, as soon as the water begins to rise, Impel Down would be the least of everyone's concerns. And with the criminals being released, that would include Doflamingo, and as well as any other key figures that may have been in Impel Down. And as they are all released, they all may make their way to the front lines of the final battle. Alright everyone, so as I see this chapter is not just a plot progression, it's a possible game piece setup for the end game of One Piece, where every revelation and every character's decisions could tip the scales of power. What does this mean for our hero and the world at large? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching today's episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of VegaPunk's revelations and the potential shifts in power? See you in the next video as we continue to uncover the mysteries of One Piece. See you guys.